Вітання з українського.
Greetings from UCMC. And during the next 40 minutes, we are going to have an expert discussion. The topic is to save decentralization, enlargement of regions, and elections 2020. This discussion is supported by UCMC and Dobra program. I present our speakers, Ihor Koliushko of Political and Legal Reforms, Anatolii Tkachuk, Institute of Development of Civil Society, Ihor Hanushchak, Reform of Local Government, and we have Iryna Vakhovych on Skype. Do you hear us? Good afternoon. Yes, I hear you. So we have 40 minutes. Several weeks ago, the government sent to the parliament a draft provision on liquidation and creation of regions. There were many discussions of this, and these regions are needed by the power to organize efficient power at local level. And this won't have negative effect, although services will be provided locally to people in their communities. And the important moment is on the way, whether to approve this provision, and information is ongoing about this. And we decided to ask our experts, leading experts, about how to save decentralization and from whom it should be saved, actually. We start from Anatolii. Good afternoon, dear audience. I would like to say why this wave of resistance started, because there was half-year delay. If in September the power would be able to adopt the decision on the regions, that would be good. Then the campaign would not be started. But now this campaign got started, and any information reasons that allow to be present at the meetings, on TV, everywhere. All this is used now. We should take it into account. This wave, the main wave, is not that someone protects local governors, but someone makes PR out of it. So why this situation with the regions should be completed? Because on the 25th of October we'll have local elections. Local elections should be held on the new territorial basis. We have been speaking for this for 5 years. Reform was ongoing for 5 years. And now the first page is turned, and we should enter a new political cycle based on new territorial divisions. So territorial communities, we understand what it's all about, and even those who didn't want to get united, they agreed to get united. And now we speak about the regions and what would be done, good or bad. And I would like to say that for me it is sad to see that those who agreed the concept of local government's reform that envisage enlargement of the regions, regional administrations and councils. Now they say that this ruins the reform, but it doesn't ruin it. It ruins ambitions of some people who want to be partly in the new system and partly they want to remain in the old system. And to be the first among equals. And it can't be so. So this is the key thing. And then we are going to speak what is for the people in the regions. I know that people travel not only to get certificates, but also to large shops, to some healthcare institutions, and for this they should be transported by public transport. And who should deal with public transport? And we will go back to this issue. Please, dear speakers, do you have your own opinion on the saving of decentralization, and from whom it should be saved? From those who are ignorant on this, who are not professional. This reform has been prepared for 5 years, and this reform is ongoing in a good way, because even minor details were taken into account, and the methodology was adopted, how to form the communities, and the result shows that those who adhered to methodology, they got success. Those who didn't adhere while getting united, the result was that they are not capable. Some of them survived, but this is a heroism, but we are speaking about the norm. Now some non-professionals appear, they say that we should make cities and regions, and we should not do regions at all. And I agree that from one side this is an election campaign, and from the other side, there is a need of some forces to torpedo this reform because they are interested in chaos. If we do not do the basic level, if we do not approve it, if we do not do sub-regional level, if we do not adopt it, if we create such monsters as cities and regions, so we will have chaos. And in the chaos, some people would say that among this chaos, we are the islands of stability, cities, big grants. So the state, they believe that the state should hear them. They say that they do not need the state, they do not need control over the activity because they are the only who hold some control over the situation. So they need chaos for this. And they launch viruses, and they also deliver information on TV. They do not have stories of success, of what they've proposed. They didn't succeed in anything. There are no positive things provided by such people. Now, in the media, they say save decentralization because people who prepared it for 10 years, those who show success for the last 5 years, they say that someone wants to destroy it. Ihor Koliushko now. Good afternoon, everyone. For me, it is difficult to speak about political assessment. I believe that my colleagues clearly said that approximation of elections play a big role in this, but I would like to add that, once again, I would like to provide the main arguments about this reform of the regions. First, the regions should be enlarged. Concerning the efficiency of the executive power at the local level, and all the bodies of executive power, they got enlarged in 490 regions. We do not have tax offices, police, and all other. They got all enlarged. They went along this way, and it was based on the chaotic basis. Everything was done in chaotic way. People do not know where to address to what jurisdiction they belong, and even officials do not understand this. They should communicate properly among themselves. Police should speak with the tax office, with prosecutor's office, but they did not properly divide their territories. So we should stop it all, and we need new administrative territorial division at the level of sub-region, at the level of today's regions. And they should be at the level of 200 and 220,000 people. This is optimal for organization of executive power. This is the biggest and the main task. The second task, this reform should be done in order to protect local governance in communities. Paradoxically, experts speak a lot about it, and they say allegedly that there is a threat to communities. That's why, in no case, they should enlarge the regions. And I cannot understand the logic. Everything is absolutely opposite to this. In order to protect local governance in the communities, regional level should go up. It should be separated from the communities, because otherwise communities will have confrontation with the administrations because they cannot divide the territory. Second is the issue of elections. We will discuss this issue. I believe that today, during these elections, we should find a way how not to announce the elections of local councils. Maybe they will be needed in the nearest future, but now they do not have responsibilities. It is difficult to understand their role and place. And the only way to find legal grounds not to announce the elections is to change regional level. And in connection with this, we do not have time to organize the new regions before elections. They will be prolonged at least half year or 1 year, then introduce changes to constitution. So this is the only way. And the last 2 points. This is the third one. This is distribution of property. So we have 490 councils, and they have a lot of common property of local governance of territorial communities. If we would like to use this property in the interest of the communities, the best way is to liquidate those regions, and the new large regions, they won't have the majority of this property. It should remain in the communities. And the last one is new territorial administrative division. If it is organized correctly, it stimulates always the development of political system and cultural events, and investment and economic development will be stimulated. So that is what we reach by the reform of the regions this year. If it won't happen, unfortunately, we will delay it for 5 years, and we will lose 5 years in our development, in our prospects. And we will start with Iryna Vakhovych. So whether the parliament adopts the provision for the new regions to be created, and Yurii Hanushchak mentioned chaos, but maybe we will speak about details of this chaos. You say that in order to protect communities from the regions, we should level them up, and Iryna, so all these regions, they were like litmus paper. And if the parliament won't adopt these regions, what will happen next? I believe I can assess the situation correctly. My position maybe differs from the opinion of other councils, regional councils, but the reality is like this. As of today, the level of the regions that we have today in Volynska Oblast, for example, Volynska Oblast, is not highly populated. We have average territory like other oblasts, but only a little bit more than 1 million population. We have 16 regions, and these regions, they all have ADCs. They are covered with ADCs. Volodymyr-Volynsky region, for example. And the head of the region, Volodymyr Volynsky, he believed that his obligations were taken by ATCs. And this person got discharged. He understood his potential. He understood that he won't be on his position any longer. He is not needed now. And also, we have 16 heads of the councils, of local councils, and I asked them whether it is necessary to have it. And they do not have proper, they cannot provide proper salaries to the staff. And today, the regional level it is now exhausted, and we should got enlarged. And in Volynsk Oblast, at the preliminary stage, we had some negotiations. 3 regions of sub-regional level were proposed. As of today, we believe there should be 4, because it is not heavily populated, but there are a lot of forests in the territory, but it should, so we agreed at all levels on the 4 regions. Of course, we have some problems with the centers of the region. Now there are some strikes, and the roads are some roads are closed because of these strikes, and we understand that the center is near other centers, and for example, there are many other centers in the north of the regions in Kamień-Kaszyrskie, and what we do for this sub-regional level, in my opinion, maybe it doesn't coincide with the opinion of other heads of the regions and other beneficiaries, but I am convinced that regional councils as they are not needed in the model of decentralization that we build now. This will be a body without responsibilities. It will take part of budget money and won't have any functional load. Functional load that to find a compromise. This is not a proper load. This is not property. If we are speaking about regional hospitals or healthcare at the regional level, this is now at oblast level. And what changes when it goes to the regional level? Regional councils are not needed at sub-regional level. And in Poland, you see that they carried out decentralization. And in Volynska Oblast, we border on Poland. We had visits, meetings, and we asked what mistake was made by you and how to avoid this mistake. What can you advise to us? And they said about sub-regional level. Their povits are self-governed, and they advise to us not to make this mistake. And I believe that their advice is correct, and I understand this is doubling. This is the link that is not needed. And the other aspect, and maybe we will speak about it later, if we are speaking about completion of decentralization, we should complete it in proper terms. And we lose some moment that oblast councils, they should have the executive committees, and there should be proper reform on this, and we continue with administration, and this administration will be ongoing for the next year. And in many reforms, this is of concern, but now our reform now is in delay, and I believe this is not good. So new regions are needed, regional councils are not needed. This is what we heard from you. Okay, so if the provision is adopted, that creates a new regions and cancels the old one, and the regional councils continue their activity at the regional level, what can we do about it now? So we should adhere to constitution. This is point 1. I listened attentively to Iryna, and do you remember Rykov of RSDRP? And he said a wonderful phrase that people who got power due to decentralization, they really do not want and afraid to provide it to a lower level. So oblasts, they need all power, and regions, they do not have power. This is not a correct position, and it is weird to me that people who got elected, they want to reduce the number of those deputies that are at a lower level. But democratic systems, they are powerful when they are based on proper grounds. And we see that in the United States, they have a lot of local government bodies. And also with Yurii Hanushchak, we visited France, and we saw that there are elected bodies at the lower level, and there are many of them. And there is a proper level of responsibility, and the Ministry of the Regions and many experts who work on this issue in the last 3 years didn't show to people what can be done, what responsibilities should be at the middle level. And Ukrainian state now is not properly united, and I would like to stress that I support the 3 levels of administrative and territorial development as it is approved by the concept. And at each level, there should be a representative body of local governance, because we should do everything reasonably and properly. If you're speaking about Polish and other experience is absolutely different. For example, in Slovenia, regional level is envisaged, but they didn't create a de jure, but de facto they should create it, and they created quasi-regional councils, and part of the functions was brought up than the functions of the community. In Estonia, the situation is the same. They identified key cities, and around them they created quasi-regions. That's why you should not be afraid of the regions. You should do it reasonably. And time is lacking, but we are not to blame for this. So elections should be appointed. This will be first elections to the new regional councils. And whose responsibility is this? Verkhovna Rada or someone else? Who may answer this question? This is Verkhovna Rada. It may not appoint elections to the regional councils. We have draft law 3414, and I would like a deputy who would be nominated to the body that doesn't have responsibilities. What is this draft law? This is introduction of the changes to the budget code, that at the level of the regions they have responsibilities close to 0, and also money close to 0. So only people who wants to do harm to the head of the administration will go to this. And they will use the article of constitution. They will try to provide that he cannot be trusted. And so this is conservation of feudal order in Ukraine. If we won't appoint elections to the regional councils, we will solve a lot of problems. First, ADC, they become equal. They do not have suspicion that someone wants to fool them. They say we should adopt draft law 3614, and they want to have done it simultaneously. And in 2015, they provided money, but they didn't provide responsibility. Everything should be done simultaneously. And also the head of state oblast administration, regional administration, they should represent the state, not like in Chernovetska Oblast. They do not have proper representation of the state. We see how the state administration works locally and how local governance works. And then the changes to the constitution will be possible, because they would not present some threats. If we wait, we will have 200 regions. why we don't have 100. It would be normal to have 100 according to the methodology, but during these 5 years we were not able to do this. So with communities, we've made an experiment. We've shown how the communities are created, first 159, then 200, and in the regions in none of the oblasts, we were able to create a model how the regional how the region is properly function, because the decision is far away from the optimal one. The decision should be taken in the nearest future. And some regions, they are weak, but we then will be able to work on this more. We may go back and work on it if there are some contradictions to methodology and the proper philosophy of this topic. If we are going to wait longer, first, this virus of non-professionalism may win, and we will have 490 plus even more cities with non-proper, non-understandable statuses, and we will have chaos that we will have if we won't provide proper position, and we will have 5 years of standing on one place. This can be done quickly. We may adopt budget code in the first region. We vote for the provision on the regions, and then when everyone understands that the stage was passed, then they will agree on this. And those who say that regional councils are needed, then we will be able not to announce elections to regional councils. The Constitution envisages that these regional councils represent common interests, but there are no common interests. There are no regional councils. This is like this. Ihor Koliushko now. Thank you. Look, I believe my position is that Anatolii Fedorovich and Yurii Hanushchak both are right in something, but I cannot agree 100% with them. I believe that in the prospect, Anatolii Fedorovich, he is right. When we reach stationary regime and will complete these reforms, we will have grounds to speak about regional councils, that they may be needed and of good use. And what is the main usefulness? We will be able to continue redistribution of functions and continue decentralization, taking responsibilities from the oblast level and transferring them to the regional level. Now we do not see this, what can be transferred. We tried to do it with healthcare, we calculated this, and we decided it is better to do this at the oblast level. So each sphere should be separately calculated and in order to properly understand the issues. We know that in some countries, rows are at the regional level, state level, sub-regional level, and now we should see, we do not have this division now, and we should understand our regional territorial development, and then we should distribute roads and to calculate whether it would be good to provide responsibility to the regions. The time is needed for this. I believe that there is a logic, and in the nearest future we will need these regional councils, but during these elections we should not elect them, because they will be this third party that is not needed in the redistribution that is ongoing between the ATCs and the oblast level. This is the main. Second, if changes to the constitution are not introduced, if the regions are not changed, so there is no discussion. elections are announced automatically to the regional councils, and I categorically against what my colleague said. This is not proper interpretation of constitution. If they had some common responsibilities during previous elections, they do not disappear from constitution now. And then Verkhovna Rada will be forced to announce elections. But if the regions change, then we won't have the old regions, and the new regions won't be formed, won't be completed. And the regional administrations, they will be formed until January next year. And I believe that draft law will be introduced to the Verkhovna Rada concerning changes to constitution, and maybe until elections it will be voted for the first time. So the sum of these factors, it provides, legally speaking, it does not provide proper grounds, but politically there is proper ground to delay elections to the regional councils for a year, maybe even more. And changes to the constitution, they will put all dots on I's, and then we will understand when these elections will take place and what will be going on. And also about executive committees that were mentioned by our colleague. It can't be done without changes to constitution. And other experts now condemn that they wanted to liquidate administrations, but now they enlarged the regions. But the regions can be enlarged without changes to constitution, and it should be done before elections. And changes to constitution and the regional administrations cannot be liquidated without changes to constitution. And in social media, there are many comments. They say that current constitution is violated because of the changes of the regions. Who may give answer to this? No, this is not correct. This is not true. I would like to say that there are simple things. I believe we should think systemically. We have constitution. It is approved. It has parameters. And when people want to change something, this is going outside the system. So you should provide proper, balanced systemic document, and you should do that. You should say that it is better than the previous one. Then there will be grounds to speak about it. Now about the councils that should not be created now, and they will be created later, and then responsibilities will be transferred to them. But then there will be political interests, and they try to calculate whether they will win. And Slovenia, Latvia, Estonia experience shows that they have the regions de jure, but de facto they do not have them. And also about the common interests of the territorial communities in the regions. Yes, in the regional councils. Yes, we have such interests as transportation, public transportation between communities. Do we need public transport there? Yes, we need it. This is not business of private entrepreneurs, and we have a lot of examples. For example, in France, in Strasbourg, where there is Council of Europe, and public transport of them there is governed by Metropolitan, but by Strasbourg City Council. This is important. If we are speaking about particularly talented children and schools for them, what is this level? Is this a level of oblast? No, this is a level of the big region. For them, this is enough. This children, they are closer to their own territory. If we are speaking about elderly people that do not have proper care, this is the level not of oblast, but of the big region. If we go, if we consider, we will see that there are responsibilities for different levels, but we should work on this properly. Unfortunately, for the last several years, no one worked on this. Maybe some people didn't believe properly in the reform, and now we should deal with this problem properly. And you cannot speak about this in terms of constitution, because this will end in Maidan, because some changes to constitution were considered at that time, and they restored, tried to restore totalitarian regime. And now the question to Iryna. For example, if the Verkhovna Rada does not create the new regions, what should be done with the regional councils that will be without responsibilities and without financial support? How to live with such regions? Do you model the situation for you? This will be an absurd situation. Today, several regions are fully covered by ATCs. After reform, we will have all regions covered by ATCs, and we cannot address ATC for money to support our staff. We understand that this is a transitional period, and during this period, there are some drawbacks and risks. But if we continue with this period, we will have such problems for the longer period. Whether it is rational or not, no, this is not rational. I believe that if we don't enlarge the regions, this will be an absurd situation. We should not allow this, and I call on politicians to get united. And you can speak about elections and about political moments and interests, but this reform is really important. But we should have proper rules of the game. We should have fair play. We should have negotiations and take proper decisions. And at the level of the regions, I heard our experts on this. We may speak about responsibilities, about talented children, that they are responsibility of the regional level. When we started decentralization reform, we didn't think about principle of that this is voluntary to get united, and the agencies were created, and this. There were infrastructure subsidies, and several villages, they got united, and they have administration, they have salaries, they have responsibilities, and some do not want to get united. We had 16 regions, and we could provide more to them, to these agencies and regions, and citizens should take decisions. But today we have some contradictions. If we are speaking about each oblast and territory, today's enlargement is problematic. There are scandals and contradictions, and we may speak a lot about it. We thank you for your opinion. We have less than 5 minutes. At the end, we would like to use these 5 minutes in order to speak about responsibility. Those who are against and for the new regions, what would you like to say to these people in order to make the process more efficient? Ihor Koliushko. Thank you. First, I would like to call on people's deputies to vote for draft law 3614 and draft provision 3650. These are two documents that reform the regions and inter-budget relations in connection with the reform of the regions. This is what should be done during 2 plenary weeks. If it is not done, this will be a threat to the reform. Second, it would be good to introduce draft law changes to constitution in order that they be able to see what was the result of the negotiations that started in February. I do not know whether there is a chance to vote for this document and to see the political will of our power, what they've heard during the consultations, because a lot of time was spent for this starting February. So these draft documents should be supported. We all believe that it should be done. It says that on this stage, this is the most important. And later on, we will see how things will develop, and we will try to find grounds for further developments. Anatolii Tkachuk now. First, we should not be afraid. We should vote for the creation of the regions. When we voted for declaration before last voting, one deputy said, he shouted, "What do you do? This is the exit from USSR." Everyone laughed and voted for the document. No matter what they say, we should vote for this new provision. And point two, together with the ministry and specialists, we should sit down and make clear this issue for the experts and for the ministry, who will be responsible for what in the new system, because unfortunately clarity that was in the concept is now ruined. And Yurii Hanushchak, 45 seconds time. 3650. This should be voted for in February. 3614 in the first reading. It should be voted for, and we have 2 weeks in order that politicians be ready to support provision on announcement of elections, and there won't be regional councils in this provision. And then the budget code, the second reading, this is the ideal option for today. Everything else is chaos. Thank you for this discussion. Iryna Vakhovych, we thank you. And also, we spoke about changes to constitution. A representative of the president in Constitution Court recently said that in several weeks they will be ready to show this draft document of changes, and in September they will be ready to submit it to the parliament. Thank you for your discussion. For this discussion, we're speaking about the enlargement of the regions and